Viewers, for the first time ever, a BJP constitutional post holder has thrown weight behind the movement to reclaim the contested sites of Kashi and Mathura. The official sanction for the Mandir Vapsi, so to speak, of Mathura and Kashi has come from no less than the Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, Yogi Adityanath. Speaking in the Uttar Pradesh Assembly, Yogi Adityanath invoked what he termed was injustice against Ayodhya to make a case for the reclamation of both the Gyanvapi mosque site in Kashi and the Krishna Janambhoomi in Mathura. Listen as Yogi Adityanath set the terms.
अयोध्या के साथ अन्याय हुआ और महोदय, जब मैं अन्याय की बात करता हूं तो हमें 5000 वर्ष पुरानी बात भी याद आने लगती है। उस समय पांडवों के साथ भी अन्याय हुआ था और उस समय कृष्ण गए थे कौरवों के पास। उन्होंने भी कहा था बस दे दो केवल 5 ग्राम, रखो अपनी धरती तमाम, हम वही खुशी से खाएंगे, परिजन पर हंसी न उठाएंगे। लेकिन दुर्योधन वह भी दे न सका, आशीष समाज की ले न सका। यहां तक कि उसने भी भगवान श्री कृष्ण को बंधक बनाने का कुत्सित प्रयास किया। यही तो हुआ था अयोध्या के साथ, और यही हुआ काशी के साथ, और यही हुआ था मथुरा के साथ भी। हमने यही तो कहा, उस समय 5 गांव मांगे थे। भाई, भगवान कृष्ण ने तो पहले कहा, जब वो समझौता कराने के लिए गए थे, महाभारत का युद्ध टालने के लिए गए थे, कि देना हो तो आधा दो, लेकिन इसमें भी यदि बाधा है तो दे दो केवल 5 ग्राम। लेकिन वो 5 गांव, लेकिन यहां तो इस समाज सैकड़ों वर्षों से यहां की आस्था केवल 3 के लिए बात कर रही है। 3 के लिए। वो 3 के लिए भी इसलिए वे विशिष्ट स्थल हैं। देखिए, अयोध्या का उत्सव लोगों ने देखा तो नंदी बाबा ने भी कहा, भाई हम काहे इंतजार करें। उन्होंने भी इंतजार किए बगैर रात्रि में बैरिकेड तोड़वा डाले। और हमारे कृष्ण कन्हैया कहां मानने वाले हैं।
Yogi's endorsement has immediately sparked a debate, with many pointing out that the Chief Minister seems to have disregarded the provisions of the Places of Worship Act 1991 enacted by the P.V. Narasimha Rao-led Congress government. Now viewers, as you know, this act bars any bid to alter the status of a place of worship as it stood. And let me underline this, as it stood on 15th August 1947. In fact, in the Ayodhya judgment of 2019, the Chief Justice of India then led 5-judge bench had upheld the sanctity of the Places of Worship Act of 1991. Here's what the Supreme Court had ruled. Quote, Parliament determined that independence from colonial rule furnishes a constitutional basis for healing the injustices of the past by providing the confidence to every religious community that their places of worship will be preserved, their character will not be altered. The state has, by enacting the law, enforced a constitutional commitment and operationalized its constitutional obligations to uphold the equality of all religions and secularism. The Places of Worship Act imposes a non-derogable obligation towards enforcing our commitment to secularism under the Indian Constitution, unquote. This is what the Supreme Court had pointed out in the Ayodhya judgment. The Places of Worship Act of 1991, of course, has been challenged in the Supreme Court. The principal grouse expressed by challengers is that it imposes a totally arbitrary curb upon citizens to approach the courts to seek redressal, which is a basic constitutional right. The hearings have set the stage for a protracted battle as the centre, despite repeated reminders from the Supreme Court, has thus far refused to clear its stand on the legality of the law. Now viewers, let me stack up for you what the objections are and what the defence that has come from those who want the Act to stay have put forth. The objections: arbitrary and irrational is the first because it imposes a retrospective cut-off date. Remember, the Act was in 1991, but it dates back to 1947. The other side says no, it ensures communal harmony and prohibits new disputes. Another objection that has come to it is that it ensures communal harmony and prohibits new disputes, but there's an unjustified bar on remedies for encroachment. The other side says no, legislative intervention upholds constitutional values. The challengers say that it blocks judicial redressal on historical injustices. The side that wants it to be upheld says manifests secular values and prohibits retrogression. That means the tendency to go back into history and open and excavate wounds of the past. Another objection that is raised against the Places of Worship Act is that it condones barbaric acts of invaders. The other side says no, it enforces constitutional obligation of religious equality. Another objection is that it's passed without consulting affected communities. Those who stand in defense of it says no, it guarantees the preservation of places of worship for all faiths. But viewers, coming back to the original point, the UP Chief Minister's ringing endorsement for the Hindu side's claim over Kashi and Mathura raises some fundamental questions. The first and obvious one, viewers, is whether Yogi Adityanath has used his office to articulate now firmly the BJP's position, and does Yogi's declaration undermine the spirit of the Places of Worship Act of 1991, as some people are saying? Another question: can we forget that the SC had upheld the sanctity of the Worship Act in the Ayodhya judgment? Yet more questions flow. BJP may have drawn the roadmap, but will the Supreme Court block the course with Worship Act of 1991? And then does Yogi's backing hint at a move by the NDA to perhaps even strike down the Places of Worship Act 1991? Of course, viewers, those on the BJP side will argue that Yogi has only appealed to the good sense of justice of the Muslim side, saying that, look, concede just these 2 or 3 sites because they matter to us. They're of civilizational importance. On the other hand, viewers, people will say, will Yogi's endorsement encourage more claims on disputed sites by other groups? So viewers, there are several of these questions. Let's open them up. Let's engage with this particular topic. Remember, in 1990, Modi and Advani took a yatratra from Somnath to Ayodhya, pressing for the reclamation of the Ram Janambhoomi in Ayodhya. In 2024, 3 decades later, Yogi is following in footsteps. What do we make of all of this? Let's ask some fundamental questions. Let's go straight across to our guest panel. As always, viewers, needs no introduction. Let me begin with you, Varis Pathan Saab. We heard Mr. Yogi Adityanath. Of course, he's speaking in the assembly. He's speaking as the Chief Minister. This is the first time we have heard anyone holding a constitutional post in Parliament, representing his government, voicing support for these 2 sites. So clearly, there is ringing endorsement from the BJP for this. So I'm asking you, in the context of that, What Yogi has posited, this demand, for example, seems to be in a civilizational context. He is speaking of wrongs not committed today, but to deny Hindus their identity or degrade their identity, to be more specific, as it happened in the past. And he says that he is only asking for Kashi and Mathura because they are of not just symbolic, but inherently civilizational, spiritual importance for Hindus. So in a sense, he's appealing to your good side and saying, look, let's concede here and we'll end this matter. We can go on and live our lives in peace and harmony and amity.
Well, Rahul, good evening to you and to my fellow co-panelist.
Good evening, sir.
Yogi has totally failed as the Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh. He has taken the oath on the Constitution and become the Chief Minister, and he's standing on the floor of the Assembly and he's making such kind of statements, very well knowing that the matter is pending. It is sub judice before the honorable courts, which are giving a day-to-day hearing on the Kashi Mathura issue. This clearly shows that he does not believe the Constitution, he does not believe the courts, he does not believe in the democracy or the secularism and pluralism of our great country. Secondly, places of worship Act 1991 is still into existence. He knows that. That act clearly says that in the commentary you said that those things, those structures, monuments, religious places prior to 15 August 1947, they are as it is. You cannot change the nature and character of these places. Then why to make such kind of places? Why to go beyond what you want to say? And why you want to create an atmosphere of 1992, Babri era? You are the Chief Minister, and Supreme Court also has clearly said why it should have quoted the Supreme Court when the Supreme Court said that a demolition of the Babri mosque was a criminal act. Why does he not quote that? That those who were arrested, earlier, subsequently they were released, but no appeal was filed by the BJP. But no, he wants to polarize the situation prior to the 2024 elections, and that is why Yogi's all policies have failed. His Thok Dalunga policy, his bulldozer policies were criticized. Today he does not have answer to be given to what the state is asking for. People are asking, sir, Yogi ji, our Uttar Pradesh has become the capital of crime. Every day crime is taking place. No answer for him. Thok Dalunga policy. No process of law followed. Bulldozer policy, does not give notice, no process of law followed.
So you're saying,
it clearly shows that Uttar Pradesh is going in a very, very wrong way, not following the constitution. And I would like the courts to take note of it, that pending the matter which is being heard, the Chief Minister of the particular state is giving such kind of state.
Okay, so let me bring in Kaushal Mishra ji, the Bharatiya Janata Party, to respond to these charges that are being made by Varis Pathan. Varis Pathan says that you know that this matter is sub judice. Why go out there and whip up sentiments, etc., give an official seal to this demand for reclamation when you know it's sensitive?
Shiv, first of all, Ram to you as well as my all fellow panelists. First, Mr. Varis Pathan said about what is the state of our Uttar Pradesh. Now, state of Uttar Pradesh becomes a champion state in the country from the Bimaru state, which was previously it is the first state to have the rapid rail. It is the first state to implement all the central government policy in number one in whole of the country. Now the whole Uttar Pradesh is developing, and it will become the first trillion economy of the country. So it's about the development, how the UP is growing, and now see the development of Ayodhya, see the development of the Kashi, which was discriminated because of communal reasons, because of many other reasons. Why the other political party is not developing the Ayodhya? Why the other political parties or previous government are not developing the Mathura is still in the same phase. So that if we see the development, right now the development is going along with the cultural development as well as development with the temple. Previously there was little development without temples, right now development with the temple. Means in Hindi we call Mandir Sahit Vikas or Mandir Rahit Vikas. पहले सरकारें करती थी मंदिर रहित विकास, और उन मंदिर जिन जगह मंदिर थे उसको डिस्क्रिमिनेट करती थी. दैट इज व्हाई अयोध्या, काशी एंड मथुरा, ऑल द थ्री cities are discriminated, and that is why they are in worse position in Uttar Pradesh. Now because of the cultural development, because of the tourism, and because of best policies of the Yogi ji and double engine government, these three cities are growing up. Now come to your commentary about the religious worship and religious act. Rahul, first tell me, our constitution provide justice which was done in history, means our constitution is capable of correcting the historical injustices, and that is why the reservation is provided by our constitutional makers. So that if in one way we are correcting the historical injustices by compensating in the form of reservation, those injustices which was done by the Mughals, Akrantas, invader, why cannot they be corrected right now? This is one. Second, our constitution basic structure is that reviewability, judicial scrutiny is the basic structure of our constitution. How any act can withdraw that act, and that act is still under the challenge in the Supreme Court. So legally that is very open fact that it can be challenged and it can be discussed. And Yogi is very clear that he mentioned the Mahabharata Katha, that Kaurav or Pandav, he maintained the sanctity that Hindu Muslims are like brothers. He maintained the brotherhood, and that is why he mentioned that Krishna visited to the Duryodhan and asked for some part, 5 villages. That is how he said that the 3 major cities, 3 religious cities who form the heart of Hindi land, who form the heart of India, who form the heart of Bharat, means Mathura, Kashi and Ayodhya. These are the basically faith place of whole country.
So you're appealing to
still developing.
Okay, so you're appealing to a sense of enlightened justice, spirit of accommodation, and hoping that the Muslim side hears your prayer. That's what you're trying to essentially say. Okay, let me bring in Dr. Ranganathan. Dr. Ranganathan, does Mr. Yogi's declaration undermine the spirit? Forget the letter right now, but the spirit of the Placer Worship Act of 1991, and how do you respond to Varis Pathan and Kamru Chaudhary, who will speak and say that this is an attempt at perhaps pitting Hindus against Muslims, whipping up communal passions because there is nothing really to show on the ground?
Good evening, Rahul, and good evening to my fellow panelists. I congratulate Yogi Adityanath for saying what he said. He had the courage to say so, and for all those, in fact, Rahul, remember we had a discussion about what Jay Sai said, that we will start the process of reclaiming all 40,000. And Yogi Adityanath has, if not used those exact phrases that Sai and Vishnu have used, he has said the same thing. And I congratulate him for it, because justice cannot be applied preferentially to just 3 places. And he said, initially we wanted just 3, Lord Krishna wanted just 5 villages, and it wasn't given. And then, you know what happened? Everything that was unjust, justice was done. So I congratulate him on that remark, and especially I think the BJP spokesperson has said it, but that has unfortunately not been the official position of the BJP. Had it been, they would have revoked this evil Places of Worship Act in 2014 itself. The fact that they haven't yet done so, and they're possibly waiting for the Supreme Court or any other court to do so, I think it's unfortunate. They should have done it. They should not have waited for the court to do it, because to me, one of the most barbaric legislations ever enacted in India is the 1991 Places of Worship Act. And on top of that, as I don't know, something, I don't know what to say, in 2019, you know, the virtue signaling Supreme Court in its Ayodhya judgment willfully ratified this act. Obligates maintaining all religious places as they were on August 15th, 1947. So historical injustices cannot be addressed unless Parliament overrides it. Now you tell me, Rahul, how can a legal recourse to correct historical injustices be denied in a democracy? And I am at pains to emphasize this I have never felt is as a Hindu issue. I, as a Darwinian atheist, demand the abrogation of this Place of Worship Act. And Rahul, if a mosque had been demolished by a Hindu king and a temple built on it, I, a kafir and an atheist for whom Islam sanctions death penalty, would have fought for the rights of Muslims to legally get back their mosque. To show you the extent very briefly of the conceit, let me read out to you the passage from the 2019 Ayodhya judgment where Milords exult and willfully ratified this act. Quote, the Places of Worship Act imposes a bar on the institution of fresh suits or legal proceedings. The only exception other than Babri Masjid Ram Janam Bhoomi case is in the case of suits, appeals or proceedings pending at the commencement of the law on the ground that conversion of a place of worship had taken place after 15th August 1947. The Place of Worship Act is thus a legislative intervention which preserves non-retrogression as an essential feature of our secular values. The Place of Worship Act is intrinsically related to the obligations of a secular state. It reflects the commitment of India to the equality of all religions. Above all, the Places of Worship Act is an affirmation of the solemn duty which was cast upon the state to preserve and protect the equality of all faiths as an essential constitutional value, a norm which has the status of being a basic feature of the constitution. There is a purpose underlying the enactment of the Place of Worship Act. The law speaks to our history and to the future of the nation, unquote. I am sorry. At the risk of going to facing the criminal contempt again, this law and the ratification airbrushes our history and it destroys our future, destroys it.
Okay, destroys our future. Of course, it's not the act which is right now being discussed. It is Yogi Adityanath's endorsement of the movement to reclaim these places of worship when the courts are going over the fine print of the various petitions that are pending before it, and whether that is contemptuous or whether that is an expression which the BJP will perhaps now adopt through a legislative process. I don't know. We don't know, viewers. The BJP through the NDA has not responded to many Supreme Court notices seeking a response from them on whether they believe that the Place of Worship Act is illegal or not. So that is also another fact. But that's a matter for a slightly different story. I just want to come back to you, Mr. Kamru Chaudhary. You represent the Congress party. You've stood for elections for the Congress party. You know of the history of Ayodhya, where the Congress party went ahead and opened the locks, etc., and started the entire, as you know, in some ways, the process really of the Hindu side reclaiming and perhaps even bringing down the Babri Masjid. So I understand, speaking from experience, you must be really worried because you really unleashed a set of catastrophic events. But I want to ask you today, Mr. Kamru Chaudhary, it's not as if Yogi Adityanath is saying that we are not going to listen to the courts, that we are going to resort to ultra-virus means, that we are going to take the law into our own hands. He, in fact, is saying that, look, at the end of the day, we are only going to seek what we think is intrinsic to our civilization, which helps us also preserve our identity. And the BJP and the NDA haven't even moved court or stood up in parliament where they enjoy a majority, and you keep accusing them of ramrodding various legislations down the opposition's throat. They haven't come there and said, okay, we are tearing up, you know, like Rahul Gandhi would tear up the legislation and say, now we are going to revoke it. They haven't done so. So why are you whipping up this fear psychosis? They are all committed to going through the courts.
Now, there's some valid reason for this fear psychosis that you just mentioned, you know. Let me cite a few examples why this mindset is developed among the Muslim minority of the country. You see, the around 500 to 600 year old Akhunji mosque in Mehrauli, Dehradun was demolished. On what grounds? On encroachment. What does that mean? What does that suggest even? A 500 to 600 year old mosque being demolished on the grounds of encroachment. From what? No answer. Ultimately, the Delhi High Court had to step in to order a status quo on that area. Now, these are flashpoints that are developing in the people's mind. And you know, the most important thing today, as a secular politician, I'm aghast at the statement of an elected chief minister bound by the constitution when he stands up in the assembly and he threatens the Muslim community in inequable words, I can tell you, He is invoking the Mahabharata and says that the Muslims of this country, please remember, अगर 3 हमको नहीं देते हो वापस तो कौरवों का जैसा हाल होगा महाभारत में जैसा हुआ था. Ultimately the substance is this. So do you as an honest journalist condemn such words from an elected chief minister? No, you will not. Because what Yogi Adityanath wanted was 3 temples to be given back to the Hindus. While Anand Ranganathan says out here, he is also a right-wing influencer. He's got lots of followers among India. And there are people watching him who idolize him. And he says that we want 40,000 of our temples back. Now, Rahul, where does it end? The Congress party in 1993 bought an ordinance to make an amicable settlement of the Ram Mandir issue. And it was the same Bharatiya Janata Party which refused to abide by that ordinance. Now, what happened later was a due process law. Crores of Muslims of the country accepted it, that it's a decision of the Supreme Court, and we accept it with all humbleness. Now, when you have a majoritarian government at the center, at the state, and you have people trying to manipulate the court into judgments, there the problem lies, which leads to apprehension with the minority population. Let me cite you the example of the Gyanvapi mosque. What happened on the 17th of January? There was one order for appointment of the receiver. This same order was again corrected by a retiring judge who retired the next day on the 31st of January to include that worship be performed on the Tehkhana of the Gyanvapi. What happened then? The entire character of that Gyanvapi mosque changed. Now, when you seek justice for the
how
Hindus,
does the character change?
Wait. I'm not going into this debate.
One second. You've started the debate, so I'll have to ask you. First of all, my first question was whether the Chief Minister had undermined the spirit of the Placer Worship Act. I'm asking that question because I'm honest. Otherwise, I would have said that, look, he's expressing the sentiments of the majority and they must be respected. So, Kamru Chaudhary, first give credit where it's due. You may not have a response to the larger questions of the Congress's role, etc., etc. That's fine. I'm not even going there. But fundamentally, I'm asking you, if no one from government, including the Chief Minister, have come out there and said, take the law into your hands or hit the streets like some people have from the other side, then what is there to fear? You talk about some other mosque, some other reasons for why it was being demolished and how a stay came. There are many Hindu temples that have been pulled down for encroachment, etc., etc. We know. So let's not, bring in stuff that doesn't really fit the debate. I'm only asking you.
Fundamental question is,
I asked you fundamentally. You say that, there's an attempt to manipulate the court. That's a very serious, very, very serious accusation to make. In the same breath, you say that due process of law is also being followed. Who's allowing that due process of law to be followed? It's the majority community who's sitting by patiently and saying, no, let the courts. Yeah, Dr. Ranganathan has raised his hand. Yes, you want to respond?
I can't for the life of me understand when one of the holiest of places, the Krishna Janamsthan, and one of the most authoritative biographies of Aurangzeb mentions that in January 1670, Aurangzeb ordered the demolition of the Keshavdev temple in Mathura. Worse, he ordered that the idols be broken, taken to the Jahanara mosque in Agra and scattered under the steps so that they would be trodden upon by millions of feet as they walked in to offer the namaz. Yep. Is this not humiliation? How on earth does Kamru Zaman Chaudhary says that his Hindu brothers should face this humiliation decades after decades, centuries after centuries?
Okay,
that's why I asked him, if the most holiest of Muslim shrine was demolished like this, would he be all right? Will he be okay? Accept this humiliation? What nonsense are we talking about?
Okay, one second. Let him respond. Kamru Chaudhary.
Anand, I don't know what you are drunk on tonight. Because the simple reason, what Aurangzeb did, what other Mughal invaders did, what Britishers did, how is a Muslim like Waris Pathan or me responsible for their barbarism? How are we? हमारा 500 साल तक हम उस मस्जिद में नमाज पढ़ते आ रहे हैं कि आज वो मस्जिद मेरा आस्था नहीं है.
How do you have reservations?
The fundamental question that Mr. Anand you are raising, If your faith
No, one second. The state allows, no, one second. Let me just step in here. No, that is a point that Kaushal Mishra Sahab had also made. That the state allows.
He's all right, Rahul, for the historical injustices to be removed as far as comes to reservations. What is the fault of the current person who is the UC general category facing reservations? According to your logic,
Let me elaborate on that point. I think Kaushal Mishra ji made that point. Now, viewers, there are a large number of political parties that want to forget about caste, but they want to give reservations along religious lines. Minorities should be given reservations. Now, why? Because historically, in this country, before 47, we were told that if India were to be governed by the Congress party, which is really packed with a lot of Hindus, Muslims will not get a fair deal. That they will be ignored, that they will be sidelined, marginalized, etc. That thesis has continued in to secure justice. So, how can you have apples and oranges, and which law? Now, I'm not going down that route. We are talking really about form tonight, viewers. So, let me come back to the BJP spokesperson. The question is, what if, Kaushal Mishra ji, the court says, sorry, Place of Worship Act is paramount, we cannot strike it down. The court has already said something, as you know, and I've quoted that in the Ayodhya judgment. Then what happens? Will the BJP then perhaps move the Lok Sabha? Will you introduce a bill to override this Place of Worship Act? What will you do? Or will a Mahabharat happen? As the analyst Kamru Zaman Chaudhary apprehends?
Shiv, it is a hypothetical question, but yes, our Ambedkar Sahab has shown the way. He said that our constitution is a live document and it will change as per the need and choices of the citizen of the country. So whatever the citizen decide, the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha will follow the same thing. Whatever the court decide, but the law making is the power of our parliament.
Well, let me very bluntly put it, viewers. If you go by this logic, you see, viewers, it's very simple. That there are issues which certain faiths, etc., have problems with. Let's say homosexuality, for example, viewers, or gender issues. Now, what if tomorrow, in the name of secularism, and it has happened at least with the, with regards to human rights, the Supreme Court decided to give the homosexual community the absolute right to cohabitate without the fear of prosecution from the law. Now, we know that certain religions have a problem with that kind of adjustment. The point that is being made is that the law evolves to reflect the mores of the time, hopefully progressive ones. So, viewers, the Constitution is a living document. Ambedkar Sahab said that. We all know this. And therefore, tomorrow, if the courts move in a particular direction, the government might exercise its right to go ahead and bring in changes. Yes, doctor, 1 second. Yeah.
Yes. Rahul, very briefly.
Rahul,
please ask Kamru Chaudhary ji, who doesn't want Supreme Court's decisions to be overturned. Has not the Congress yesterday said that it will overturn the 50% reservation limit that has been put by the Supreme Court? When it comes to them, then Shah Bano they will overturn. Bank nationalization they will overturn. Privy purses they will overturn. Everything they will overturn. SC/ST Act.
Judgment. What about the Election Commission of Election Commission ordinance?
Okay.
The Supreme Court judgment.
Okay, viewers. Look, this matter we can endlessly debate, and we have done so. We know that there is a lot of hypocrisy, sometimes on both sides. I mean, I like the way, the confidence with which the Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh has come out and at least spelled out his stand. But then, viewers, the centre doesn't spell out its stand in the Supreme Court, which I find a little odd. Because we know that there is the Place of Worship Act, and at least as of today, it stands as a towering obstacle in the way of realizing any move towards reclaiming or correcting historical injustices, as some people in the Hindu community put it. So viewers, think about that. There is also hypocrisy staring us in the face. Yogi Adityanath, right or wrongly, has put his point forward. The debate has begun.